Real quick before we get into the review, just gotta thank the people over on Patreon, because without their support, a lot of this upgraded content you see on the channel would not be possible. And I gotta say, on top of being able to respond to you guys in the DMs, you know, one of the fun things about the Patreon is every 3 months we do an anime and manga haul, and there's a lot of good goodies in that one. You also get sneak peeks at videos that haven't made their way onto the channel yet. I'm still figuring out what to do for actual YouTube memberships, so leave a suggestion down in the comment section below. But with that being said, thank you so much for all of you guys' support, and now let's get into the review. Yo, what's going on everybody? It's your boy Naruto Explain here, bringing you guys a review for Boruto Chapter 62. And now that Chapter 62 is done and in the books, man, do we have a lot to talk about, man. I told you guys, I said like, yo, if Masashi Kishimoto's taken all this time to build up, then you can expect there to be huge chaos in the chapter that is coming. And people are getting so impatient, like, my God, why are we taking so much time for setup? And I kept saying, this is giving me Search for Tsunade vibes, where you had a volume and a half of setup and then everything just blew up at the halfway mark of the second volume in that arc, and now you're in a similar situation to where everything is just blowing up right now. Kawaki versus Code, Boruto coming in there, Naruto being put on alert. There's a lot of stuff going on in this chapter. So obviously, if you're anime only, if you're still here at this point, I'm assuming you don't care about spoilers. So getting right into it, I think that there are 3 key takeaways that we need to discuss with this chapter before we do the recap portion. So first and foremost, the first thing that we need to discuss is the fact that Kawaki has been marked by Code. That's the first thing. And Kawaki was about to be dragged through one of his straps by Code and taken to Ada. And it's in that time that Code tells Kawaki that, like, you're always needed by somebody. And that right there is very interesting, because it kind of leads into what I've said before. I strongly believe that there's going to be a huge dust up between Code and Kawaki, and Ada's going to be at the center of it. I really think that we cannot take our eyes off of Ada being a potential puppet master. So that's very interesting to see that portion right there. The other thing is the fact that Boruto purposely went after Kawaki, and part of the reason why he did so is that he knows that he's under surveillance, and Boruto has a moment where he thinks to himself, if I just leave here now and I go after Kawaki, there's a chance that the surveillance team can track me as well. The only issue I have with that is you do have the potential that Boruto unconsciously is suppressing his chakra without even realizing it, because Boruto's body is 80% Otsutsuki, so there is the possibility that Boruto's unconsciously using some of that power without even realizing it. And then the third thing, and the most interesting thing, is the fact that this threw Amado for a loop. Like, Amado's somebody who is always one step ahead, and based on how he was drawn in the chapter and his reaction, I sincerely believe that Amado in this time did not expect this. Like, out of all the scenarios that are taking place, I sincerely believe that there's probably like a 8 out of 10 possibility that Amado is genuinely shocked. But the fact that he seems shocked that the surveillance team was thrown off guard by this, that's something right there to where I'm very, very curious to see how Amado kind of reacts to it, because I've not taken my eyes off of Amado as somebody who is a potential red herring and a potential villain for the upcoming arc. Now, I will say this before we get into the recap portion. Also, I thought that this was a well-paced chapter. Now, this is basically the setup chapter for the battle that's taking place, Kawaki versus Code. It wasn't anything super special. This was, once again, a prelude to a battle, but it's still a battle nonetheless. And I have to say, in terms of just kind of jumping from scene to scene, I thought that this was well paced. There were a few panels where I thought that there could have been better panel flow and execution, but much is the case with the Boruto manga, the anime is going to get a hold to a lot of this stuff and fix it. Now, going into the recap, so in the first part of the chapter, I thought it was very interesting that you have Boruto and he's talking to the shadow clone, and it really feels like this is a time where there's potentially a retcon going on with the shadow clone jutsu, because when Boruto's talking to Kawaki, he's telling him like, hey man, you know, if you keep going out there like this and you keep headed west, you're going to be in a situation where you're really going to get yourself into harm's way. This is really dangerous. You need to come back home. We can figure things out ourselves. And Boruto is shouting at the sensory ninja out there, and he's telling him like, hey, you know, you're supposed to be watching Kawaki. This is a shadow clone. You idiot. I can't believe you fell for something like this. And the Jonin is kind of pulling a rank on board to like, I'm not going to listen to a snot-nosed Ganin like you. And even Naruto has a moment where he's like, look, man, I don't believe you. You know, I really don't believe you. You said that being kept under surveillance was something that was really annoying and you were getting upset with it. How do I know you and Kawaki aren't colluding on something? I think that it's better for me to just kind of trust into these Jonin that are watching you. I don't think that this is something that you're telling me 100% of the truth. And then once they go into Kawaki's room, that's when you find out that the shadow clone has been undone. It's because Code is attacking Kawaki, and that's where we have a bit of the retcon. So the thing that we've been seeing in this chapter and the chapter before this is that Kawaki has been getting information in real time from the shadow clone. Typically, when you use shadow clones, the information and experiences are transferred after the shadow clone is destroyed. Now, during the 4th Great Ninja War, we did see how Naruto was aware of what his other shadow clones were doing. So there is a possibility that this isn't a retcon, but I have seen people say that this is a potential retcon. I'm going to lean more so on the side of Otsutsuki. The way that their bodies work is a little bit different. So there is a possibility that because Boruto and Kawaki's bodies are very close to being 100% Otsutsuki, this is just something that is exclusive to Otsutsuki, for better or for worse. This could be it, but just like with the chakra suppression and everything, we just gotta kind of wait and see how the manga addresses this, because stuff people cried about being a plot hole in the past, the manga ended up explaining it 20 or 30 chapters later. So this is a wait and see approach here. But I did think it was interesting that, you know, right before Kawaki gets attacked, Code has a strap that is placed on a Kawaki's body, and basically Code is able to recreate the scenario where Damon is on Code's back in the same way. And what I like about this is the fact that Kawaki, the moment that Code sees him, Code kind of says the same thing that Boro did, which is like, yo, you have changed. Now, if you guys recall, when the Team 7 versus Boro fight was going on, Boro said the same thing Delta did, which is, Kawaki, you're not the same person. And the way that Code does this, he's not talking about his battle sense, though that is something that you can look at. Kawaki's not as ruthless as a fighter as he used to be, but Code looks at him and he says, you getting chubby. And that right there, number one, that's obviously a testament to the fact that like Hinata cooking that good food right there. Hinata got those Jonin level skills in the kitchen. Like, Hinata throws it down obviously in the kitchen. However, the other side of that too is you're also in a situation to where Kawaki has been getting several meals a day. Kawaki has been able to get snacks. Kawaki has been living a more relaxed life. And so it makes sense that somebody who hasn't really eaten outside of the bare minimum to keep his body nourished is putting on a little bit of weight. And that just shows you that like living inside of the village is changed Kawaki. And so it's not just battle sense, but it's also his physical appearance. So you see that he's well cared for. And what I like about right here, and I'm probably gonna do a whole video on this later, is you get the opportunity to basically see the difference with Kawaki and Code, because Code is basically Kawaki who never met Naruto. Code is infatuated with Isshiki and the Otsutsuki, and Kawaki is infatuated with Naruto and the life that could have been when he's living inside the village. He's a changed man, and you see both of them on opposite ends of the spectrum, which is so fitting given the fact that they each have different karma seals. Kawaki had the black karma seal of Isshiki. Code has the imperfect white karma seal of Isshiki. So I did like that right there. Now, I like how the next scene that you get is Naruto when he's talking to Boruto. Boruto explains to him yet again, Kawaki was suppressing his chakra. That's why you guys are not able to follow him when he left. You fell for the shadow clone. He purposely allowed his shadow clone to let his chakra out. That way you guys will fall for it. Naruto tells the shinobi like, hey, you need to expand your sensory net. And he begins talking to Ino and Shikamaru and updating them on the situation. And as they're discussing what they need to do about it, Boruto's getting more and more impatient because Boruto understands that they have a small window to catch Kawaki, and Boruto's beginning to freak out because the moment that Code attacked Kawaki, he has not been able to track Kawaki's location. He knows about where Kawaki is, but he lost the signature of Kawaki because the shadow clone was destroyed the moment that Kawaki was attacked and it broke his concentration. And what I like right here is that as Boruto begins to freak out, Ino's like, well, you know, he's grown accustomed to being inside the village. I don't understand why he's leaving. Shikamaru's looking at like, I knew this kid was going to pull something like this. I can't believe he's left. He's left the village when he knows he's being targeted by Code. Why would he pull something like this? Shikamaru turns over to Amado. He's like, I know you know something. And Amado turns around and he flips it on him. And that's why I say Amado's kind of playing Among Us. And I think that it's also Amado's like, yo, I didn't expect this to happen. Like, I expected a lot of things, but I wasn't expecting this. Because Amado says, what did you mean? How could you lose sight of Kawaki? What is the surveillance doing about it? Like, that's somebody right there who basically, he had a plan and Kawaki screwed it up. Like, his plan was, I'm going to talk to this kid. I'm going to whisper sweet nothings into his ear. I'm going to play up the whole helplessness of him, not having the karma seal and how strong Code is. I'm going to put the karma seal on him for my own volition and I'm going to use this kid. Nah, this kid left the village and it blew up Amado's plan. I think that that's why Amado's kind of flipping it on to Shikamaru. So I do think it's like an 8 out of 10 that Amado did not anticipate this to happen. And what I like right here is that Boruto, as he leaves the village, he's like, okay, I know about where he was. I've got to find Kawaki's location. The sensory division, they can't find Kawaki because he's suppressing his chakra, but they should be able to sense mine. And so Boruto's like, screw it, I'll do it myself and you guys can follow after me. And what I like about this is that Boruto is ignoring Naruto's warning. Naruto tells him, leave it to your father. So leave it to me. That's interesting. That means that there's more people coming. And this is what I anticipated. All those fan theories, and when I did the few videos of my own where I talk about my own personal theories, I said like, hey, there's going to be a huge domino effect. It's going to be somebody being targeted that is going to draw the rest of them out. And that's essentially what happened. Kawaki left. The moment he left, Code targeted him. And because Kawaki is in danger, Boruto left. And so because Boruto left, you can bet that Naruto's going to follow. And Sasuke's out there somewhere as well. So the third major part of this chapter is when you have the Kawaki and Code battle. And what I like about this is that you see Kawaki, he's got the ninja tech flaring up inside of his body and he's basically transformed into that blade. He's swinging it back and forth at Code. Code has his body transformed into the claw. He's catching the attacks. They're going back and forth at this point. And what I like right here is that it's a small change in the way that the action's done. Typically, a lot of the fights that we have in Boruto's manga, they're the same old cookie cutter, rinse and repeat, stare, taijutsu, Rasengan slash ninjutsu, break apart, and then rinse and repeat. I like right here, there was a little bit of change right there. And instead of just the blank stare, we get a little bit more of dialogue right here. And you kind of see it where Code tells him, he says, that was a violent greeting. We haven't seen each other in a while. And you see more of the strategy. You see how Code is using his claw marks that he has around the area. I like that because this is more of what I wanted to see when it comes to Boruto battles. The only worry I have about the character of Code is that Code is kind of kicking the dog mess out of Kawaki and he's falling into the same trap that Boro fell in when he fought against Team 7. He was obviously stronger than Team 7 in the manga, but he played around with them enough that Sarda in the manga version was able to break down. They're like, yo, these viruses, I can see them with the Sharingan. Kawaki says that all the car members have a scientific ninja weapon tech core. I can find it using my Sharingan. We're going to come up with a strategy and we're going to destroy it. When you continuously use your jutsu in front of somebody and you do not eliminate them quickly, you open yourself up for defeat. That goes back to part 1 of Naruto where Zabuza is getting on to Kakashi, and Kakashi even says it in another part of part 1 where if you show somebody your secret technique more than once, they will find a way to counter it. And Kakashi even goes as far as to say that only an idiot would continuously use their main ninjutsu in front of somebody. So Code is falling into that trap right there. And I know Kawaki isn't a traditional shinobi, but the fact that Boruto shows up and it's Boruto that's engaging with Code at the end of the chapter, Boruto is a shinobi. Boruto is somebody who's very observant. I think that Boruto is going to come up with a way to counter Kawaki. That's going to be interesting how that kind of handles out. Now, I like how Kawaki confirmed something that I said in one of my older videos, which is he's leaving the village, but he's doing so as a way to try and protect Naruto. And that's essentially what happens right here, because Kawaki tells Code, I'm the one who killed Isshiki. Naruto had nothing to do with it. Konoha had nothing to do with it. I killed Isshiki. That's when Code says like, yo, I already know that. I know the circumstances of Isshiki's death. Isshiki's last words were to me, and he told me to carry out his will. I'm gonna kill everybody who played a role in his death. I don't care that you gave the finishing blow. I'm killing Naruto, I'm killing Sasuke, I'm killing Amado, and guess what? The way that this 10 Tails is gonna work, when the chakra fruits produce, I'm gonna kill everybody on this planet. The only people who are gonna be safe are gonna be the people who aren't in this dimension, and that's interesting. That's interesting, and that ties into another bit of lore from the Naruto manga that a lot of people don't actually remember. So yes, the 10 Tails drains chakra and etc., but the way that Kaguya's powers worked and the way that Momoshiki's powers worked in the light novel is Momoshiki was able to draw on power from all of his different dimensions. So you had Momoshiki's power, you had fused Momoshiki's power, and then you had the additional power that he was able to draw from other dimensions as well. Now, why is this important? In some of Momoshiki's dimensions, there are god trees. Kaguya, when she was fighting against Naruto and Sasuke in Team 7, a lot of people miss the fact that Kaguya, when she first fought Naruto and Sasuke, she was suppressed. She was trying not to kill them. And then when she fought them after the fact, after she says, I'm going to just go ahead and kill them, Black Zetsu's right, it's easier. After she uses that huge truth-seeking orb that she was about to blow up the entire universe with, she actually powered up because Kaguya is stated to have grown exponentially stronger, and it's because she absorbed all the chakra that she gathered in the god tree that was in the main Naruto universe. So we've seen how that kind of works. So that does make sense that if you're inside of those other dimensions, you're not going to be affected by the god tree. Naruto, Sasuke, Sakura, Kakashi, and Obito weren't affected by the effects of the god tree because they were in another dimension. So in theory, what Code says makes a lot of sense. If you're not in that dimension, you're going to get your chakra absorbed. Well, that also potentially opens up the explanation of what happened to Naruto when Kawaki says in the flash forward sequence that I'll send you where I sent the 7. So it is possible Naruto's in one of those dimensions, which means that there is a possibility that the god tree's already been sprouted. That's interesting right there. That's an interesting tidbit. Now, going into the Kawaki and Code stuff even further, Code is just knocking this dude silly, and Ada is just getting livid at this point. She's like, yo, you're gonna bruise Kawaki's face. You can't hurt Kawaki-kun anymore. Code, you're such an idiot. Ada is getting more and more upset as the battle's going on because Code, you can tell he's getting a little bit of enjoyment out of just making Kawaki beg. And he has a moment where he says, like, you're the legitimate vessel for Isshiki, or at least at one point you were the legitimate vessel of Isshiki. You should not be so pathetic, groveling on the ground like this on your hands and knees. Man up. He's basically saying, where are your balls at this point? And Ada, more than once through this fight, is saying, you're going to go too far and accidentally kill this kid. You cannot kill Kawaki, which again, that goes back to what I've said for the last few months. There's going to be a split between Ada and Code. Code is going to go too far at some point, and Ada's going to turn on him, and Ada's probably going to kill this guy. Yes, she can only use taijutsu, but if her raw power goes beyond Jigen's power and Code does not get his limiters removed, then there is a possibility that Ada just kills him outright. So I do like that right there. Now, the other thing though is that the chapter ends off with Code choking out Kawaki. He's lifting him into the air just with his right hand, and he's saying, I've got to tell you something more important. You're going to be very surprised about this. You're going to be excluded from my revenge list. I'm not going to kill you because there's somebody who wants to meet you. I can't really stomach it, but You're always needed by somebody, so you're going to be coming with me. And Code is beginning to take Kawaki with them, and it looks like they're going to be going back to Boruto's hideout. And then that's when Boruto comes in with one of those huge sweeping kicks, and he's able to get Kawaki away from Code, and he's standing between them, and Boruto's getting really pissed off as he's going at Kawaki. It's kind of like what you got in the last Dragon Ball Super chapter where Goku and Vegeta end up fighting each other as they're fighting against Granola because both of them are trying to get the win over Granola. Well, it's kind of the same thing here. They're bickering back and forth. So I like this right here, and what I like is the fact that Kawaki is genuinely concerned about Boruto because he just heard Code's plan in full. So I like that right there. And it looks like this next chapter is going to be Boruto and Kawaki going up against Code, and I do expect that to be, once again, an action-heavy chapter. We're getting dangerously close to Jump Festa. They've already started the promotion, so I still stick to what I said before. We're probably going to get the time skip when we get to December, so the October chapter is going to be Boruto and Kawaki against Code, and you're probably going to have somebody show up at the end of that chapter right there. November is going to be the reversal, and December is probably going to be the resolution of the chapter and whatever setup you're going to have for the time skip. I think that that's more than likely the case, and if I'm not mistaken, that's going to be the end of volume 16 or 17 as well. So very curious. My chapter question to you guys is, what did you guys think about this idea that I have that Code is going to eventually go too far with the character of Kawaki and Ada is going to turn on him? And then the second question I have, and this is probably the biggest one, what are your thoughts about Naruto not directly believing his son when his son says, Kawaki's left the village, we have a huge problem? If Naruto goes with Boruto and he believes in what his son's saying, there's a possibility that they could have contacted Sasuke. Sasuke, we know, is in that general vicinity and area, and Naruto and Sasuke fighting together should be enough to bring down Code, or at least make him retreat. I'm very curious to know, do you guys think that Naruto's making a mistake by not believing in his son and still mistrusting his son to an extent? And I know some of you guys have kids, and I'm very curious to know from the parents who watch these videos, is there a parental reason for why Naruto is kind of mistrusting his son? Is it potentially because that's something that Naruto would have done when he was Boruto's age? Let me know down in the comment section below. But as always, guys, if you like anything I had to say, don't forget to comment, rate, subscribe, and share. Thank you so much for watching to the end. Have an awesome day, guys.